What's up, y'all? It's Spirit C Brown, another video. And if y'all haven't seen my last video of me basically explaining the shadow, I'm gonna leave a link to that video in the description box below. And if you haven't seen that video, then you should check that one out before watching this one. Because in that video, I basically explained what the shadow is, right? But in this video, I'm gonna be giving you the tips on how to actually do the shadow work. All right, but before you even get the tips, you need to first understand what you're dealing with. All right, but if you haven't seen that video, I'm gonna leave a link to it, and you can watch that one first. But the first tip to basically approaching the shadow is to center yourself. All right, now when I say center yourself, I'm talking about basically coming back to who you really are. All right, on the surface level. All right, because you what y'all have to realize is a lot of people live a fake life. Right, they're not who they truly are. They're not doing what truly makes them happy, because they're always trying to put on a fake front, right? Put on a fake image because they want to please somebody else, or because they're being controlled and told who they are by somebody else. All right, so first you have to come back to who you truly are. Find out who you truly are. Find out what you really like to do. All right, that means like hobbies, like doing whatever makes you happy. Like if that's riding a bike, right? If that's painting, if that's making music, you have to get back to your true self, because you can't go down and approach something like the shadow that is so authentic, that is so true to who it is and what it feels, if you're not fully compatible with who you really are. Because if you do that, then once you meet that shadow, you're gonna be overwhelmed. All right, because you're not going to be able to be on the same level, on the same frequency as something as a shadow. Because like I told y'all in my last video, bro, the shadow is one of the realest things about you. All right, it doesn't matter. Like, your shadow will come out and just curse somebody out and mean that shit, right? But and then you will snap back in reality like, damn, like I really just said that. That's how real your shadow is. So you need to first center yourself, right? Your surface self. Now, step 2 to the shadow work, right? Now that you've done the first step, you center yourself, you find out who you truly are. Now you have to get to a point where you're able to build compassion for yourself, right? That means that you're accepting who you really are. All right, you're accepting it. Now, the reason why this is so important is because when you go deep and you start to do that shadow work, I've experienced this now. Everything I'm telling y'all in this video, I've been through it already. All right, but when you go deep and you start to get into the shadow work, and you meet your shadow for the first time, like you know what it is now. Your first instinct is going to be like, all right, I'm going to change you. Once you get that mindset that you're going to change your shadow, you've already lost the battle. Your shadow has already beaten you, because like I told y'all, you can't change your shadow. Your shadow is authentic. Your shadow is real. Your shadow is all of the emotions that has been frowned on by humanity, like I told y'all in my last video. So you can't change your shadow. You're going to have to accept it. So that's why it's best to practice on yourself now. Once you center yourself, accept who you are. Accept that you like country music. Don't be shameful about it just because you're melanated, and the melanated popular type of music is rap or R&B or whatever. Accept that you like that rock music, bro. Accept that you like to paint. Accept everything about yourself that you've learned so far. All right. That is going to be important when it comes to meeting your shadow. All right, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and you have to tell yourself, I love you. I love your hair. All right, I love your body. All right, you athletic as fuck. You are a god. You are protected. These are the things that I tell myself in order to basically become compatible with myself, and that's in the process of accepting me. All right, you have to boost yourself up. You have to be your biggest cheerleader, bro. You have to show yourself self-compassion. You have to love who you are. Look at your flaws as your blessings. Transform your weaknesses into your strongest assets, bro. When you look in the mirror and you're complimenting yourself, thank yourself as well. Tell yourself, thank you for sticking by me when I was going through that sickness. Tell yourself, thank you for sticking by me when I was going through that pain in my life. You know what I'm saying? Because when you're going through what a lot of people don't realize, when you're going through certain shit in your life, you thinking about nobody else not coming to help you. But what about you though? You was there when you was going through all of it. So thank yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back, bro. Thank yourself for being there when you felt like you was about to give up. Because guess who was with you that whole time, bro? Your shadow. You have to accept your outer shell before you even think about being able to accept your inner shell. All right. So the third tip for doing your shadow work is going to be becoming more self-aware. All right, so what you have to realize is Your shadow is not a physical, entity, bro. Your shadow is only going to be able to you're only going to be able to see your shadow if you have a self-reflective mindset. All right, so you have to get in that mindset first of all. You have to realize that you can't see your shadow with your own two eyes, bro. You have to be able to feel it. You have to be able to feel that it's there. You have to get to a point where you're able to see through yourself clearly in order to see and observe the emotions, the thoughts, and the behaviors of your shadow. All right, you have to get to a point where you're able to see through yourself just as clear as you're able to see through the matrix, right? To see through the curtain, you're able to see through the things that they put on the media. You have to be able to see through yourself that same way. And you have to get to a point also where you're not criticizing and judging yourself for every little way that you feel. Do you realize that the more that you criticize and judge yourself, all you're doing is make an enemy out of yourself? Why you want to make an enemy out of the only person that you really have? All right, you don't want to make an enemy out of yourself, because once you do that, you've lost, bro. So you have to get to a point where you're able to accept the way that you feel. And I'm not talking about accepting. When I say accept, right, I'm talking about when you get back to the way that you really are, you have to accept it. All right, I'm not talking about accepting the way that you feel or the way that you think because that's the way that you're programmed, or because you're doing it to please somebody else. If you know who you really are and you were more connected to it, then you have to accept it. Stop criticizing the way that you think. Stop criticizing the way that you feel, because you're only going to make an enemy out of yourself. Now, the fourth tip when doing shadow work is self-honesty. All right, now this is important because a lot of people turn away from their insecurities and their disowned parts because it makes them uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to be comfortable. They run away from the uncomfortable side. All right, but in order for you to get on the road to becoming whole with your shadow and being able to control that shit, is you're going to have to face those uncomfortable sides. All right, trust me, I know, because I did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, my 4 years that I was going through depression, I constantly ran away from myself, and that's why I was going through that depression. But when I actually turned around and faced it, I was able to heal the splits that plagued my body, my mind, my soul, and my spirit. And now look at me now. I have the power now, because I accessed it by facing my demons. I have the power now to heal hundreds. All right, and that's what I'm doing. So you have to stop running away from those disowned parts. You have to make yourself uncomfortable in order to become whole with your shadow again. Now, the fifth tip is talking to yourself, communicating with your inner self. How can you make somebody your ally if you don't understand them? You can't make your enemy your ally if you don't understand them, all right? And if you're somebody that still thinks that talking to yourself is crazy, then you're still in the matrix, bro. You're still in the matrix. Why? Because in the matrix, we were told that only crazy people talk to themselves. You shouldn't talk to yourself. That makes you crazy, right? But you are your own best friend. You have to get to that point, especially if you're trying to communicate with your shadow. You have to get to a point where you are your own best friend. All right, and how can you do that if you don't even know who you are, if you're not able to communicate with yourself, all because you were programmed to think that it's crazy, right? So you have to realize that all of us have sub-personalities, all right? Meaning that you can be 70% mean, 15% funny, 15% caring, and 5% enthusiastic. But you're not familiar with these parts, all because you are a stranger to yourself. That's why you have people like me that's able to actually see through people, right? I know it's some people right now that I know better than they know themselves, all right? Because I'm able to see through them. You got people out here walking around that's a stranger to their own body, bro. And when you're a stranger to yourself, you get your emotions can easily get hijacked by your shadow. Like, your shadow could just appear anytime and you won't even know what's going on. Like, you'll be like, dang, like, I really said that? Like, yeah, because you don't know yourself. So you're able to get hijacked by your shadow, and it's able to control how you live and how you react to certain emotions. Who wants to get hijacked? You know what I'm saying? Who wants to get not programmed? Who wants to get their emotions hijacked every time they go through a situation? You want to gain control of that shit, right? So in order to do that, you have to become friends with yourself. You can't. You have to understand if your shadow is your enemy, you have to first understand your shadow in order to make it your ally. And lastly, the sixth tip when it comes to doing your shadow work is challenging the good parts. All right. What you have to realize is, growing up, we were always told what good and bad was. So we never had a chance to really observe and really get to know what good and bad was for ourselves, because it was always a guideline there, and that we just followed, right? We were always told this was good and this was bad. So for this last part, you can either write a list down, or you could just make a mental list like I do, of the good things about you and the bad things about you. Now, For every good thing that you write, for every positive thing, there is an opposite to it. All right, there's a total different opposite, and that opposite is going to be your shadow. All right, now when you do this part, you have to basically accept all the bad things about you, because like I told you, like I've been telling you about this whole series that I'm doing, that those bad things are just as part of you as the good things. All right, so you have to accept both sides. All right, for example, you may have written down that you are a hardworking person. You're very disciplined. You're very serious about anything that you set your mind out to do. And the polar opposite of that, especially for me, is laziness, right? So you have to accept that lazy side, because the more that you disown, the more that you walk around and be like, oh, I ain't lazy, you know what I'm saying? The more you do that, you're disowning it. So when you disown something, what I tell you happens, it becomes an enemy to your hardworking trait. So you have to accept it. It's okay to give your lazy side the light of day. Like sometimes if you want to just kick back and not do anything, if you want to kick back and not do no push-ups, if you want to kick back and not make no videos or not make no music, it is okay, bro. It is okay to kick your feet up and relax sometimes, bro. You have to give your lazy side the time of day just as much as your hard-working side. It's about balance, you know what I'm saying? And the more you do that, the more that you will be able to approach your shadow side with more focus. All right, so anyway, bro, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. And remember, these are all tips that I've done myself. All right, this is not nothing that I'm just snatching out the air, bro. Like I can only speak from my personal experiences. Okay, so anyway, bro, make sure that y'all continue to take care of yourself. Make sure that you continue to, you know what I'm saying, live your best life, bro. And with that being said, this is the end of this video, and I'll see you on the next video.